Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this edition of The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. In this edition of the program, we continue analyzing Cameroon's move to October 12, 2025, the day Cameroonians will be going to the polls to choose their next leader, the one who will lead the country for the next 7 years. We're analyzing issues concerning the forthcoming presidential election in the Republic of Cameroon, and calls continue rising to the sky on opposition leaders, notably the major players, to come together in a common front and put forth a consensus candidate, or at least a candidate of a coalition that will unseat the more than 4-decade-old regime of President Paul Biya and restore normalcy in the Republic of Cameroon as far as the people's living conditions are concerned, as far as human rights are concerned, as far as the socio-political, the multiple socio-political, economic, and even security problems affecting the country, making life quite difficult for many Cameroonians, with a good chunk of the population living below the poverty line from the north to the south, east to the west of the country. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Once more, thank you for staying with us on Equinoxe. Your guest today is JOKEM Quinivert. She is a seasoned human rights advocate with a fine sense of political leadership and diplomacy, trained and certified public speaker of Toastmaster, the biggest public speakers organization in the world, national secretary in charge of human rights, justice and peace of the Popular Action Party, the PAP, one of the parties supporting the candidacy of Barrister Muna. And of course, she is one of the communicators of the campaign team of presidential candidate, international anti-corruption crusader, former Cameroon Bar President, Barrister Muna. Queen, welcome to the program.
Hello, Mr. Babila Jonathan. Thank you for having me once again on your platform. I am extending warm greetings to all Cameroonians out there watching us home and abroad. And of course, I will not forget to say a warm hello to Barrister Muna, the presidential candidate that I am rooting for, and that of course many Cameroonians are rooting for the upcoming 2025 presidential elections. I will not be forgetting the Popular Action Party, the party that saw in me the ability to become a fine young politician in Cameroon, and it's exciting that I'm here today to talk about the presidentials.
All right, thank you for coming all the way from Yaoundé to have this conversation with us. Share with us your experience of the journey from Yaoundé to Douala on that segment of National Road number 3, which is in a bad state today.
Quite deplorable to think that, and to notice, of course, that the lone road connecting the two major cities in Cameroon is one that when you step on, you cry. You think about all the hurdles. Every single pothole reminds you of every single struggle that you experience on a daily as a Cameroonian. And interestingly, you know, on the day we were coming into Douala, there was a convoy from Yaoundé, I think should be the delegate of national security. I don't know who exactly anyways, but traffic,
the southwest region
yes,
of the country.
traffic was completely put on halt. You know, this is someone that is coming into Douala from Yaoundé, and those who are already in Douala were completely put on halt. You know, it's little things like that tell us the state. Yes, for the convoy to drive past, and we're standing there on the road for over 15 to 20 minutes waiting for this demigod to drive past. Anyways, this is the reality of Cameroon. Bad roads, bad governance system, activities are randomly put on hold, yet we expect the economy of the country to evolve. This is the reality that we live in every day in Cameroon. But come October 2025, we are going to be experiencing a new republic. We're going to be experiencing a new system in place.
It is the hope of almost all Cameroonians.
Yeah. One thing I believe that you must have noticed about my person is that I will not go vocal on something I do not believe in, right? I will not go vocal. I will not be so forward on something I do not believe in. And some time ago, I remember you invited me here, and we were talking about, I think that was even before the candidates went in to drop their files. And yes, we were talking about who would be candidates and all of that. I did tell you that I was very certain about a certain person. I mentioned his name. Today everybody knows that I'm rooting for Barrister Muna.
Yeah.
I told you that he was going to be a candidate. That is because I was sure beyond every reasonable doubt that he will be. And so I was forward. I was very vocal about it. And I did tell you as well that we are supporting this candidate. We are supporting this change process so strongly this year because we believe that this is the year of change for Cameroonians. And I have not changed my stance on that. I also did tell you on that edition that the entire Cameroonian people this time around, they have become so aware of the urgency and the necessity for a change. And that is still true till now. So when I talk about change, it's not an illusion. I'm talking about change with this much energy because I feel it myself as a young Cameroonian. I need it. And I know that every other young Cameroonian, every other middle-aged Cameroonian, and every other elderly Cameroonian know and feel the need for a change in this season for themselves and for the generations to come.
If you have been observing the political landscape carefully, you must have noticed that this change momentum had the tendency of taking a downward turn after the elections. Organizing body elections, Cameroon rejected the candidacy of Professor Maurice Kamto, and the decision was upheld by the Constitutional Council. There are a lot of people who will tell you, there's no need for me to go and vote. Professor Kamto is not there. What do you say about it?
Okay. What you said is very true. I agree with you that after the decision of the Constitutional Council not to maintain the candidacy of Professor Maurice Kamto, a man that is very respected on the political terrain in Cameroon, lots of Cameroonians did feel like, okay, there is no need, right? But that down slope has gradually taken a different curve. Again, let me explain why. Cameroonians are understanding that we are not voting a person, right? We are voting a change. 2025 presidential elections is literally a referendum for Cameroonians. And again, I would say...
A referendum in what sense?
This is supposed to be a complete, a decision that will completely mark a turnaround in the history of Cameroonians. A turnaround in the destinies, in the fate of millions of people. And every single citizen has become so conscious and so aware of that.
So it's about kicking out the 4-decade-old regime of President Paul Biya.
Yes, that is what it is about. It is not about the person. I said on the platform yesterday, on several platforms I've said this, it is not about the suits that people wear. It's not about the beautiful words, the soothing words that they speak. It's not about how handsome any candidate looks or how ugly another person looks, if at all they're ugly candidates. It is about the future of Cameroonians. So we are not rooting for a person, we are rooting for change. And rooting for change means that
should be changed.
Right. Rooting for change means that regardless of who will head the change process, we just need to oust the system in place. This system that has kept us in a place of stagnation, and not just stagnation, but rough stagnation for over 40 years.
I want you to speak to those Cameroonians who are still in that position of voter apathy, who have fallen back into voter apathy because of the absence of Professor Maurice Kamto in the race.
Okay. Now, those who have decided that because there is no Professor Maurice Kamto, they are not going to be voting, I want to tell you all that voting, if you were voting for Professor Maurice Kamto, you were not really voting for the right reason. You should be voting for a change. And I would say again that if you're true followers of Professor Maurice Kamto, then, like they say in French, il faut suivre le regard. Look at the path that he is choosing. For him to be vocal about the necessity, insisting on the necessity for a united force of the opposition to oust the present regime, it means that he also recognizes that whether he is candidate or not, there is still a need for a change, a pressing need for a change. So you all should go look for where you kept your voters' cards, try to identify where your polling stations are at, and make up your minds to go vote for that consensual candidate that will, by God's grace, be chosen and declared anytime soon, and stay at the polling stations to monitor your vote. This is the only thing that we're asking of you, that we're asking of ourselves as citizens of this noble country. Again, it is not about a person. We will never preach personality cult. It is not about a person. It is about the entire Cameroonian people. It is about the change that we are all rooting for.
Right. Professor Maurice Kamto, and of course your candidate, Barrister Muna,
yes,
and many other political leaders, analysts, including people like Barrister Alice Kaum and many others, have been calling on the opposition candidates, 11 opposition candidates, to come together, or if not all of them, but at least the major players should come together in a common front and put forth a consensus candidate who will challenge the Biya regime.
Yes.
But this call seems not to be yielding the desired fruit. What is the problem?
If I want to comment on the fact that the call...
First of all, how important is it? How crucial is it for these candidates to come together?
Union fait la force. If all these candidates come together, it is an undeniable success that they've recorded already, even before going to the polls. Because it literally means that we are wanting to fight a battle, right, with different army generals, and these army generals have their soldiers, and all dispatched at different fronts, but we all have a common enemy. So, instead of dispersing ourselves, we could better, dispersing ourselves and fighting different fronts in smaller numbers, we could better put our armies together, a united front. Then we are definitely recording a larger army, and it becomes easy to oust the enemy. Because again, I said there are 11 army generals, all targeting one army, one enemy. This is the simple, imagery that I can bring to explain this. And why is it facing some hurdles, some obstacles? I'm tempted to say that the regime has had a record of infiltrating opposition. I'm tempted to say so. They've had a record of infiltrating opposition. And the opposition candidates, let me not say leaders, the opposition candidates, some of them still have not understood that it is not about them as individuals. This has nothing to do with a person becoming president. It has everything to do with saving the face of the entire Cameroonian people and serving them their common good. When all these leaders come to the understanding that it has nothing to do with me, it's about the people, then we will solve the problem of who is better than who. Let me use another analogy. You have a project you're proposing, and I have also something I'm proposing to the Cameroonian people. And I believe that my proposal is good, and you believe that your proposal is good as well, right? Now, what we both need to do is, since our interest is to serve the Cameroonian people, and we both have good proposals, why don't we merge our proposals? If your proposal is good for the people and my proposal is good for the people, it means that we must have some points of divergence. We must have some points of convergence as well. So why don't we look at those areas where we meet, put it together, and even where we do not agree, we can always find a midpoint. So it should not be about you are the only one that is suitable to lead this coalition. As you're thinking that you are good, bear in mind that I could be as good as you.
And those egocentric stands seem to be the major hindrance to this idea of coming together?
It seems to be the major hindrance, and that is why I would always say that it is easy. It is even very easy for Cameroonians to already identify who the right leader for the coalition should be. Because remember that we are trying to oust a regime that has been in existence for over 40 years, right? We are trying to oust a regime that has been there for over 4 decades. How do we call that? They're clinging on to power. They don't want to let go. It's them or no one else. And then you have people that are talking about a change, but they think that if it's not them, then it's no one else. Doesn't that tell you that, okay, this leader of mine that I'm trying to put up here, if he cannot let go for another person, he might probably get there and want to hold on for another 40 years or more. No, of course, it sounds funny, but these are little things, little indices, little indicators that already tell us the mindset.
While we have
the
others,
reasoning.
While we have others like your candidate saying that he's coming for 5 years, and within the 5 years, he and his government will put everything in order and then organize election. There will be a transition period of 5 years.
Remember that he is the only candidate that is proposing a transitional mandate, non-renewable transitional mandate for 5 years. So he's not even wanting to say, give me 7 years, the standard, term of office that we all know. He's not even asking for the standard term of office that we all know. He's asking for just 5 years. 5 years to bring reforms, constitutional reforms, systemic reforms, infrastructural reforms, economic changes. 5 years only to put to check and to bring to book everything that is needed for the smooth running of our Cameroon, and everything that will make the leadership of the next president of Cameroon easier and more comfortable. That's what he's asking for. Now, he is not only asking for a transitional mandate. He has been one person that has been rooting for a united force. History has recorded it in 2018. It wasn't a consensus like we're trying to do now with all candidates.
He dropped the race
to
stand behind Professor Maurice Kamto.
He dropped it to stand behind Professor Maurice Kamto. It could have been the flip, right? It could have been Professor Maurice Kamto dropping it for him. It could have been another candidate dropping it for him. But why would I suggest to you something I cannot do? So if he thought about the coalition, it was just logical that because his point of focus is the interest of Cameroonians and not himself, let me line up. Let me queue up behind another person. He did it in 2018. You know about the Fumban gathering of candidates, right?
Yes, with Tomando, Namjoya,
yes.
and the others.
Right. He was the brain behind that gathering. And what was the aim of the gathering? Guys, let's meet. Let's sit and talk. What will be the way forward? Don't you guys think it is important, it is imperative even for us to identify a unique representative for opposition candidates? This is what we need, a united force, a strong, unbreakable united force to oust the system. This is what I am proposing. You all think about it. We are going to meet again and then we decide the person. A question that many people ask, a very tempting...
So what happened? What happened?
Exactly. That's actually what I was going to answer. A question that many people ask, a very tempting question. People think that when Barrister Muna summoned the Fumban gathering, it is because he wanted at every cost to be the head of the coalition. That is not true. And again, if you ask me for fact checked, I will refer you to 2018. And when the time...
So is it a perception that hindered it from succeeding?
No, it was not that perception that hindered it from succeeding. It was this egocentric nature of most candidates. Because everyone, again, I said it already, I'll repeat it. Most candidates feel like if it's not me, then it's nobody else. If I cannot be president, let's forget about it. This is what is keeping us where we are.
So what is needed at this point in time to be able to have, if not all of them, but at least the major players?
Okay, first off...
Because Professor Maurice Kamto, in his message to the candidates, the 11 opposition candidates, he said that the most experience in politics and management of state affairs.
Yes.
If we can have just these ones coming together, standing behind the most experience.
Okay. Now, I would say that what we need, first off, to the candidates, you all need to get off your high horses. Stop thinking about yourselves and think about Cameroonians that have surrendered their will into your hands for at least the next 7 years. This is not a child's play. It's not a battle of who speaks better English than who, or who speaks better French than who, or who is smarter than who wears better suits. That is not the bone of contention. The bone of contention here is how do you all come together to save us, the Cameroonian people, from the over 40-year-old regime. That is my message to the candidates. Get off your high horses and agree. Put your egos aside and agree. If you believe that your political project is good and every other person's project is as good, then bring these projects together. Have a common interest. Have a common proposal. And let's gear towards the change. We really don't have a lot of time in our hands. Now to the electorate, I would say that every Cameroonian, I, as someone who supports Barrister Muna, it is my responsibility to hold him by the collar and say, Barrister, you need to think about this coalition. Good thing I don't need to go through that tussle because that is what he's rooting for. So every other electorate, every other citizen should hold their representative responsible. Bear in mind that you're risking at least 7 years of your life by denying to adhere to the coalition that we are proposing. And these 7 years will definitely affect the rest of your life. With regards to what with regards to what Professor Maurice Kamto said, lining up behind the most experienced leaders, I agree. There are leaders who are more experienced than others. However, I want to say that we need to be really tactful and careful the way we place our words, because if we just put a lot of accent and focus on the ones that are very experienced, I cannot outline which ones he is referring to as very experienced, because only him can justify the things he says. What happens to the other ones that are considered not experienced or less experienced? What we need is not a coalition of the very experienced. Every candidate respectfully has an opinion that should be respected, that should be listened to. Has a contribution, exactly, has a very valuable and relevant contribution to bring to the table. So I would, in my own opinion, say that we are not necessarily in a quest of a coalition of the experienced people. It sounds like the less experienced should go and form their own coalition. We are in a quest of a coalition of all 11 candidates, regardless of the domain of expertise, regardless of the level of experience, and regardless of their age, regardless of their political proposal. We need all 11 of them to sit, think, decide, and tell us Cameroonians that as your leaders, as your representatives, this is the person that we have decided as a consensual candidate. This is the person we all will be voting to oust the regime in place.
And he was saying that if the 11 cannot come together, if all of them cannot come together, at least the major players should be able to come together. And he took the image of a football game where there is a penalty that has to be taken for victory. And so the best kicker should be given the possibility in order to improve the chances of scoring the winning, or better still, in his own words, the liberation goal.
The liberation
that
goal.
will liberate Cameroon. Now, is this coalition, this consensus candidate issue, is it indispensable? Is it imperative? There can be no victory without that?
Again, I would not say 100% that there can be no victory without the
for the opposition.
Yes, I would not say that there can be no victory at all without a coalition for the opposition. However, why do we go the hard way when we can go the easier way? There would be much easier and visible victory if the coalition candidate, if the opposition candidates form a coalition, right? So, again, for those who are willing, because at the end of the day, if some people are not willing, we cannot oblige them. But for those who are willing, you all just need to come together and agree. Now, picking out the best kicker for the liberation goal is not a responsibility that rests on the shoulders of the citizens. It's a responsibility that rests on the shoulders of the candidates. It is amongst them. So the most we can do is to encourage them and push for them to come together. That's the most we can do. Organize the match, right? Set the team. Now, it is the place of the players to identify who is the best kicker for the liberation goal.
You're one of the communicators of the campaign team of Barrister Muna.
Yes.
Tell us in some few words, why should Cameroonians vote for him?
Now, Cameroonians, listen to what I have to say keenly. You should vote for Barrister Muna because this is a man that has proven for countless years that his work is for the good of the people. He has a track record. Many people always say, why has he not been seen in the political terrain? It's not about seeing a person, it's about seeing the work that the person does. And he's been doing tremendous work in the civil society space. The fight against corruption, which is the major plague that has really eaten into the core and bones of our country today, is a fight that he has taken up for countless years. The monies that I hear some candidates talking today that when they become president, they are going to be using, from Glencore. They're going to be using for this and that and all of that. Nobody can talk about Glencore today better than Barrister Muna because he is the man of Glencore. He knows how this case came about and he knows how the 800 billion has to come back into the coffers of the Cameroonian people. When you complain about the roads, when you complain about schools, about hospitals, when you complain about the fact that there are no subsidies for health, when we all complain about the fact that more than half the Cameroonian population live below the poverty line, this is a man that has all the stats in his hands and he has been doing work in line with resolving these issues, even before ever thinking of becoming candidate, of becoming president of Cameroon. You want to vote for a person who has a track record of work for the good of the people, not for the good of themselves. You want to have, as a leader, a man that understands what servant leadership is. A man that thinks about the interests of the people first, before himself. I'm not going to go on air now to talk about the several risks that he has taken upon himself for the sake of Cameroonians, even without the knowledge of Cameroonians. I'm not going to go on air to talk about the personal expenses he has incurred and even the contributions of other Cameroonians of goodwill for the sake of the Cameroonian people, even without him being so forward on the political scenario. You want to choose for a leader a man who understands that he must not be the one in place, who is willing to let go for another person. Right now in Cameroon, we want to choose for a leader a person that is willing to fix the systems so that those of us, the younger generation, can find it easier to do what we love to do, to show proof of real patriotism in our country. Voting for Barrister Muna is literally voting for a change, and a quick change. A change that will come in less than 5 years, or maximum 5 years. And this is not just a charade. This is not just something we are saying for the sake of your votes. This is things we are saying with evidence. For how long did Glencore extort from Cameroon? It took Barrister Muna about 5 years to bring him to book with all his accomplices in Cameroon, bring them before the law. And today Cameroonians are proud to talk about recovering 800 billion in their coffers. Who does that for the sake of the people? There are just a lot of things that if you take time as a citizen and you look at, you will understand that for a person like Barrister Muna, this is not about him. It's not about his image. It's not about what his father did or did not do. It's about true patriotism. It's about love for one's people. It's about serving the nation selflessly. And let me tell you that even if he is not president, it will not stop him from doing the work he has been doing for the Cameroonian people.
Right, let's go to the newsstands now, and we're taking a look at what the newspapers reported this week. This is the press review. The Voice reports increasing calls on candidates of the opposition to unite in a common front to unseat the 4-decade-old Biya regime. The paper says presidential countdown. Candidate Muna prevails on Bello and Chiruma to unite. Opines Northern Alliance surest force to unseat incumbent. The Guardian Post reports that the population of the Northwest Regional Capital Bamenda defied the lockdown imposed by pro-independence fighters to give Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote a hero's welcome. And the Herald Tribune and the Horizon tell the readers that the Prime Minister was in Bamenda to launch the 6.2-kilometer urban bypass project. And Cameroon Insider says PN kicks off project to tar roads in Bamenda. Municipal update. Biya's envoy, Jangote, puts Bamenda in vast construction mode. Inaugurates Bamenda Babaju Road. Launches works on major projects to transform the city. And this, according to Cameroon Tribune, shows that the Northwest is taken into consideration as far as infrastructures are concerned. You're welcome back. We're still with our guest, JOKEM Quinivert, a human rights activist and one of the communicators of the campaign team of presidential candidate, international anti-corruption crusader, former Cameroon Bar President, Barrister Muna. Now, we want to talk about the lockdown imposed by pro-independence fighters in the English-speaking Northwest and Southwest regions of the country within the context of the close to a decade-long armed conflict region there. There are serious concerns about this problem of lockdown and the impact on the right to education, the right to free movement, the right to life, and other fundamental rights of the people in those two regions. What's your perspective of this issue?
I would answer that question by starting with this thought. I do understand the pain of our brothers and sisters of the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. And I understand that it is really very heart-aching that you table complaints for generations and generations and generations, and your complaints are never taken seriously or taken into consideration. And until you get to that breaking point, that is when everybody comes out to say, oh, you see what they're doing, they're destroying this, they're destroying that, they're destroying the children and all of that. This is a destruction that had started long ago in the 70s with the system that we have in place. It even started with President Ahijo, for those who do not know the history. Now, this is, however, not a justification for the fact that we should destroy ourselves. In the process of wanting to be heard, we need to make sure that we are not killing ourselves instead. The crisis, the outburst came in 2016. Let's do a little count for the kids that dropped out of school from 2016 till now. These are years that will be very difficult to recover. Mr. Jonathan, we should have...
About 10 years.
Yes, about 10 years. 10 years in the life of a child is no joke. 1 year away from school is not even a joke to recover. Talk less of 10 years. And what my brothers of these regions do not understand is that what will happen to these children when we actually get into the Cameroon after Paul Biya? What will happen to these kids? How do we start redressing? How do we start addressing? How do we start amending and fixing 10 years of pain, 10 years of illiteracy, 10 years of... I don't even know the words that I can use to describe, to explain this. Deciding to launch a ghost town to boycott education is deciding to halt socioeconomic, political, and even security growth in the country, in the country that we are trying to build. Deciding to boycott even elections is choosing to tell the regime that continue with what you're doing, continue to hold us captive. The evidence that they will continue is that from the time the crisis started till now, there has been no separation, right? It means the aim for the boycott has not been attained in roughly 10 years already. So how long do we continue? 20, 30, 100 years, no school, for how long? What we need to do is take advantage of the times and the season. We need to always work with the logic of time and season. What we need to do, those of us who are from the Northwest and the Southwest, those of us who are victims of boycott, of school, boycott of elections, boycott of lots of things, we need to take advantage of the times and season. We have a candidate who is very clear with the proposal on repairing the administrative system, the constitution, the governance system, the policies of our country.
And more specifically, the question of
the question of form of state. Barrister Muna, in his 8 pillars, states clearly what has to be done. In his program for the first 100 days at the presidency, he states clearly what has to be done, form of state, and how he will be addressing this specific problem of the Nous crisis. So what we need to do, dear brothers and sisters of the Northwest and Southwest, we need to work with the times and seasons. This is not a time to boycott. This is a time to rally behind this one person. This is a time for us to rally behind the best possible solution that we are having in front of us. And for the sake of clarity, the initial request of the Northwest and Southwest people of Cameroon was never a separation. They just wanted their identity. They just wanted to be recognized. They just wanted for their voices to be heard.
Not discriminated upon.
They just did not like the discrimination that they were witnessing in their own country. Separation came as an idea from numerous frustrations, which means that if the system in place had heeded to the complaints and the worries of the English-speaking Cameroonians, we were never going to get to this point. We were talking about a total separation.
Right. Though the separation issue, the Anglophone problem had been there for several decades, but it only took momentum
in 2016.
In 2016,
that is why
the crisis erupted.
That is why I said earlier on that this is not even a crisis of the Biya regime. For those who know the history of the country, this is a crisis that started way back as in the time of President Ahidjo, which means if the complaints of the English-speaking people of Cameroon had been looked into with a little pinch of seriousness, we would not be at a place today where we're talking about separation.
Lockdown.
Yes, we would not be at the place we're talking about lockdown. When the people say we want to be treated as equals, that wasn't too much to ask. When they ask for bilingualism, when they ask for respect of the terms for the reunification of 96 Constitution, when they ask for the respect of all these terms, if it was just granted, if only it was granted, because again it was an agreement, and one party, the La République du Cameroun, decides to not keep their own end of the bargain, and so this little wound transformed into an ulcer, became a very deadly ulcer, and erupted in 2016. So many people think that the Nous crisis started in 2016. Well, no, it did not. It's something way older than most of us today.
So there shouldn't be boycott of election.
There should not be a boycott of election. They've done so in the past, but I really want to plead that this year, please, we should not make the same mistake we did again. because the elections were boycotted, and then what happened? We involuntarily gave our support to the existing regime, and they are here. Look at where we are. So we need to look at the most appropriate solution, and that most appropriate solution is voting for Barrister Muna. I would say voting for Barrister Muna, because in as much as we're still looking at the possibility for a consensual candidate, he still stands now as a candidate. So I would say vote for Barrister Muna, vote for a leader, the person that will bring us the new republic, the person that is willing in just as early as 5 days to address the issue of the nozzle, this issue that has been existing for countless years.
JOKEM Quinivert, thank you so much for the insights you've shared with us in this edition of the program. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan. And again, it's always a pleasure to be on your platform. I would want to say that most people think that the Inside is a program mostly for men, or only for men. So I don't know how many women have been able to come here after the last time I was here.
Yeah, but you know that women are always shifting backward.
Well, women are always shifting backward.
Well,
maybe
we've had a couple of them, Senator
yes.
Regina Mundi, many others who showed up, and we had a good conversation with them. But we pray that many more, they shouldn't shy behind.
Definitely, many more will be coming forth. I mean, it's a joint responsibility of us as citizens of our country to look into matters pertaining to our country and address it and give our thoughts constructively for the betterment. So we should look forward to the 2025 presidential elections with a lot of enthusiasm, and look keenly at the person you will be rooting for as candidate.
Also, in this edition of the program, we're talking about the necessity to give priority to technology, information and communication technology, to be more precise, in the educational system of the country, as a result of within the context of the technological advancements sweeping across the world today, with several African nations, including Cameroon, still somehow behind, moving at a slow pace, according to many analysts. We're looking at the absolute necessity to give technology the pride of place in the educational system of the country, and we spoke to an expert in that domain, Frederic Cello. Frederic Cello is the chairman of the board of trustees, of 7 international universities. Stay with us. Engineer Frederic Cello, thank you for accepting to talk to Equinoxe television on this issue, which is very important at this point in time in this technological age.
It's a pleasure. It's my honor to help people to understand what technology is and why we should jump into technology. It's an honor for me to be with you.
Right. So tell us, how important, how crucial is it for Cameroon, and not only Cameroon but other African nations, to adapt to the fast pace at which the world is moving today in terms of technology?
It's no more a question of should we. It's no more a question of is it important or not. It's imperative. We don't have any other choice. If we are really expecting to develop Africa, to change things, to impact people's life, the only way to do that is through technology. That's the only way, for many reasons. Because if you need to drive change to go into develop country, like other countries did before, it's taking time, it's asking a lot of money, and we don't have that money. Our population is keep growing, and it's growing so fast that if you need to address people challenge, to address people problem, you need to use tools. You cannot do the same thing and expect a different result. Change, the growing of population is coming with a lot of challenge. And today, maybe there will be other solution, but nowadays, the only way to have a better way to improve people's life, to give access to a common world, is through technology. That's the only way. And
so in a nutshell, technology is almost indispensable today.
Today, technology is vital. It's not, as I said once again, it's not a question of, and for Africa especially, people will think that technology is very important for modern country. No, technology is far more important and vital for Africa than for others' country. For many reasons, when you need to change a country, you have three axes. The people, which should be educated, which should understand the process itself, which should be in place, and then the tools, which are the technology. The first part, the people, is the education. You need to educate people. But when we are seeing modern countries, most of the time they have the process already in place. You understand? They have the process. People are committed on what they are supposed to do because of the regulation, because of the various rules in place and which are respected. In our country, you still need to educate people to respect this rule. You still need to put the process in place. And to control all that, due to the constraint we are having with the environment, the poor road, the poor quality for mobility, and so on, you need technology because you need to have more control. You need to speed up the access. That's why you need technology far more than modern country. You understand what I mean? And if an example is extremely better. You know, when you are in France, Austria, or in Switzerland, for example, if you have to do a paper, sign a paper at the city council or the mayor and so on, you will drive there in a few minutes. Even if you are going so far, you will take the rapid transit or you take the metro and you are there, right? And even if you need to fly, you have solution. So everything is close to you because the country is modern. And there are a lot of SLA, a lot of rules, the bribing and so on. They have control on that. And their system are strong. When you are in Africa, even to move yourself is difficult. So it's far more easy for you to go on a website, request a document, or drop information they are expecting. The system will do the checking and you will download the document you are expecting without moving from your house. Because it's not easy to move from your house to go to this place. You understand? That's why you need to look, for example, for hospital. We have some innovation actually in Cameroon in terms of health tech, right? Health tech. I don't want, you can call some name like hospital and so on and so on. You have this solution on the market. Can you imagine the number of people that solution is giving access to health service? Imagine that you need to drive to see a doctor somewhere. It's sometimes before even reaching there, and that poor quality of everything. You need technology solution like hospital to reduce the distance, to speed up the access to this service, which are something you can't live without having access to medical service. You understand what I mean? The technology is taking over a lot of industry. And in Africa, let's look for bank. How many banks do we have in Cameroon, for example? We have around 20 banks, right? What the penetration of the market? We have less than 20%. Less than. You have some fintech, digital bank. In less than 2 years, they're having 10 times the customer some bank had succeeded to have after 20 years. You understand? You can take some example like Ijara, pay unit, and so on. See how today Ijara is more than 200,000 customers. In how many years a bank, traditional bank, had succeeded to have that number of customers? Financial inclusion, giving access to people to financial service. Look, Orange Money, M10 Money, and all these solutions. You can have a wallet, digital wallet. It's a bank. Look the number of accounts they have and compare it to the number of people accessing traditional financial service. Technology is the key, and it speeds up everything. It's speeding up everything. Without technology, personally, I'm extremely sure that Africa cannot have access to development and so on. And look, seeing the population we have, see the impact, the penetration of mobile phone. Without technology, how can you tackle the distance we are talking about? And that's why we need to have more institutions training people, training them well, giving them appropriate skill to create technology. Because we are at the era where we need to create solutions, to create technology. We cannot more be consuming, because our need is so diverse. Our needs are different from what others countries are having. So we cannot just be copying and using what others are doing. We need to create our own solution. We need to be part actor of this.
You would certainly tell us more about the training part of it, because that is very, very crucial for us to have manpower necessary to drive the technological development that we want to see in Cameroon and other African nations. But first of all, let us have your assessment of the level of technological progress, in Cameroon and other African nations. What is your assessment of the level at which Cameroonians, Africans, African governments appropriating these technological advancements?
Personally, I like to analyze on the economy around technology. What's the economy? What we call the digital economy? In terms of comparison, right? Today, following the last report of institutions like Partech and so on, Nigeria, which is our neighbor, right? Nigeria is raising, because when you are talking about innovation, technology, and so on, there's a big part which is people investing into technology, okay? Because technology and digital solutions are creating a new market. And this new market is being supported by investors, right? And the more you are having solution, the more people are jumping and using the technology solution we are creating, the more you are having investors. So a good way to analyze how we are moving into technology, how we are adopting technology, is to see the amount of money the country is generating around technology, okay? In terms of comparison, Nigeria per year is raising more than $5.2 billion per year around technology. Means that the startup creating, the service people are proposing, and the money venture capitalists, banks are investing on this solution and service. Okay? Francophone Africa, the entire Francophone Africa, we are raising less than $400 million. Less than 400. When Nigeria alone is raising $5.2 billion. Billion. Okay? That means we are not yet creating enough solution and service into digitalization. But we have some premises. We have some effort which have been done. Some company in Cameroon, for example, even you have some good examples from a government company. If you take an example like CNPS, the National Security Insurance Fund, which is one of the most digitalized company or administration in Cameroon. That company alone is extremely digitalized, and we are seeing the impact, the number of people they are able to serve, how they are speeding, how they are improving the quality of service people are receiving from that company. That's the impact of digitalization. You are seeing mobile money, orange money, and so you are seeing the level of money they are manipulating. That means there is something coming up. Before I called some of the startup, Waspito, Ijara, PayUnit, and so on. These startups are generating a lot of traffic. Okay? Means that there is a good start, but it's not yet enough. Especially when it comes to Cameroon. I like to compare ourselves to Nigeria because I think that we are extremely similar to Nigeria with more advantage than Nigeria. Because we have two languages, right? We can address Francophone African market while addressing English-speaking country. You understand? When Nigeria can just do English-speaking. So I believe that Cameroon should become a startup nation. Startup is all this company, just new company, starting using technologies to bring the change, to bring innovation into various domains. That's what you call a startup. It's company using technology to bring a great innovation in a sector. I believe that Cameroon should be a startup nation.
What are some of the challenges hindering the progress, technological progress, especially in the Francophone African countries? What are some of the major challenges slowing down the process of technological advancement?
We used to have this discussion. We have a lot of group people are talking about this, and there are a lot of argument and reason behind that. Some people will say that yes, it's a matter of how you call it. People don't like the change. People are not the adoption rate is too low, too slow. That's why is what is preventing technology to be, But as I used to explain to my students, driving the change, pushing the adoption of technology is also part of the innovation process. That's why I can say that the most critical problem, I will not say use the regulation and so on, because in the world, in the history of innovation is always before regulation. Regulation is reacting when innovation is showing the way, is creating, exactly. So, for me, the question is, why are we not having enough innovation? Why people, engineers, are not creating solutions? Why? It's not because people are not using solutions. Because to convert people into technology user is a part of the change, it's a part of the business, you understand? And it's the most important part. We used to explain that it's 80% of the work. 80% of the work of an engineer or a solution provider is to convert people, to help people to adopt the solution, while 20% is the technology itself. It means that people are not well trained in order to bring technology solution and then to convert people. For me, the most important thing.
What about infrastructural challenges? We have a very low internet penetration rate in Cameroon, very poor internet services, and all of that. The fiber optics is not the best in Cameroon, and as of now, we have only Cantel that is supplying fiber optics, but the problem of infrastructure seems to be a serious hindrance. Is it?
It's a problem. You need more infrastructure. You need better quality of internet in order to help people to adopt the solution. But once again, you need to take into consideration this challenge when you are creating innovation. You understand? You need to understand the limit people will have to access your service. And you need to take it into consideration when you are innovating. I will not say that we have a good quality of gender. Is really, I won't like people. We need to have better. Even when you are going in Senegal, in other African country, even in Francophone country, most of the time we have better quality of service, right? But are we creating enough innovation with the limited service we have now? That's the question. And my answer is no. We still need. Look, if internet is not good, how many services are we creating using SMS? The same technology you can create using the internet, even in mobile apps, which is hosted on a data center. You can create the same solution using SMS. We had a solution 3 years ago called Gifted Mom. Gifted Mom was a solution created by Alentef based on SMS. And that solution had impacted people's lives a lot. You understand? How many solutions do we have using SMS? And then we need to convert more users to serve more people. And at that point need more bandwidth, more internet. How many? Not enough.
Right. So let's talk about the training part of this whole issue. Your institution, Seven International University, is focusing on technology, driving the technological development of the African continent. What more should be done in terms of training offered in higher institutions of learning? There is still a very big gap between the training that is offered and exigencies of the job market, exigencies of the practical world.
You are touching many important points, right? And we had created an university, SIU, to address a problem. As I said, the way people are trained, the way people are, Africa is deadly asking tech skilled people. A report of the World Bank is stating that before 2030, Africa will need more than 200 million tech skilled people. That's the need. And it's not able, even if SIU is training, I don't know how many people, we can't sustain that, understand? And there is no company, in each industry, we need tech skilled people. So the problem of job availability, access to job, is not a problem for me. The market needs more than what we can supply. Understand? The question is, are we training people using the appropriate syllabus? Are we giving them the right competence? Are we connecting them to their ecosystem so that their change, their innovation are taking consideration of the limit, the constraint of the environment? Are we training engineers as they should be trained? Or are we duplicating the kind of training, the syllabus, the content, we are just copying from elsewhere, and at the end, even with the degree, the graduate or the engineer is not able to create something solving a problem of his environment? That's the question. For me, in terms of job opportunities, you are at Equinoxe. I am sure that if today at Equinoxe, you definitely need a lot of tech experts. In terms of cybersecurity, in terms of software engineer, in terms of project or product leader, and so on. You need people at Equinoxe now. And I can guarantee you, you will be able to pay any real expert, any real tech expert. Because a good engineer is bringing value. The more you are bringing value, the more you are paid. That is simple question. As I am an entrepreneur, and for the past 20 years, I've been working and providing service to many different industries, oil and gas, insurance, bank, and so on. So in all these industries, the most critical question is real expert, well-skilled people. Understand? And you will always be able to pay someone which is well-trained. The question is, are we training people to solve problem of the environment? The answer is no for now. And that's what we are doing at SIU. We decided to do project-based learning. Engineers are trained to solve the problem of the environment. So that if I send one of my students at Equinoxe, he is understanding Equinoxe ecosystem. He is able to bring a solution which will be a game changer at Equinoxe. That's what we are doing. And that's why we are saying that we are talking about creating solutions. That's software engineering, right? That AI, that machine learning, data science. But another part is cybersecurity. Actually, I can guarantee you that most of the company you can't imagine the number of cybersecurity attacks they are having per day or per week. It's not coming from someone sitting in Douala or Yaoundé or in Bafustam or Bamenda. Most of the cybersecurity attacks are coming from China, from Israel, from Russia, every single day. So this company, this bank, all these people jumping into digital banking service, they need cybersecurity engineer. But they need well-trained people. Are we training people and connecting them to the constraint, to challenge of the environment? That's the question. And to do that, you need to have real experts which are working on the field, which are understanding the constraint, how the technology is evolving, and which are able to adapt this constraint of the market to the syllabus they are giving to any engineer. If you are not doing that, you are just losing this time. And that's why people are believing that they need to travel to go everywhere to study. We believe that in Cameroon, in Douala, you can access the same level of training at Stanford or MIT in the United States. 20 times, 10 times less expensive than that. And connect to your ecosystem, understanding African First Bank, Activa, CNPS challenge, and be ready to solve this challenge. I believe that. And that's what we are doing.
We'll certainly have this conversation in a more elaborate context some other day. Thank you so much for accepting to have this conversation with us.
It's a pleasure. I am always open and available when this day is come to help people to understand more, to understand that technology is there to impact people's life, to help people's life to live better, to access, to work better, to produce more. I'm always available. It's our passion. Our motto at SIU is forging the technological vanguard of Africa. We believe that Cameroon should be at the forefront of innovation, and for that we need to train people better. We need to connect them to industry challenge, and I will always be available to give more, to push the understanding of people.
Thank you very much. Now we're taking interviews of the week. We'll be right back in a moment.
To have a common candidate would be a lofty idea. That is the only way we can take the country forward. If we had a different candidate, it would be better, because we need change. Change, even if we are not changing the system, we should change the face. We have seen the same people for too long. It is boring. Okay? We just need change. Let a new person come. The person might be the worst, but let it be changed. It is not realistic, because so many people think they can do it themselves. And that is where we have a problem. If we forget about our political parties and think about Cameroon as a nation, and then we select a candidate to stand against the ruling party, then we will have some hopes.
It will be very difficult to the opposition to succeed the future election if you go ahead like this disorganization. It will be easy for them to be gathered, to have one candidate.
These works have effectively started to improve the road network in Bamenda. So the population should feel responsible towards not only those who are going to do the work, not only the administrators who are going to be supervising the work, but also when the works are completed to make sure that these roads are kept in good order, safe.
This is water fufu. We are buying it at Mongo division. When we were buying this fufu in Southwest, it was a little bit bigger. Those people here in Mongo, they don't know how to tie it. If the wall was not in Southwest, this one now, we buy it for 250 and we sell for 300 francs, which means there is no gain. If you check your transportation, if you pay here and go to Mongo to go and buy it, and then you pay and come back, we are not making any gain.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of the program. Thank you for following us on our social media handles on Facebook and on YouTube. You can also follow the rebroadcast of the program on Friday at 4:30 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. God bless Cameroon. Goodbye.